I'm just browsing through CNN and I get this article about dark matter come up. Something is wrong with dark matter, and they're going through they've been looking for it for a while and they can't find it. And if you can't find something, maybe it's not there, right? I'm going to be terse about this. I'm not going to get technical. I'm going to. This is at a general level. Pretty much everybody should be able to understand this. I think that the answer is that we live in an open universe. It's purely intuitive. What that would mean is that our universe is being acted upon by outside forces. I've been over this elsewhere and don't really feel like it right now. I did get into it a little bit. The math in the Big Bang Theory actually doesn't add up. Okay, if the Big Bang happened, and it probably did, but nothing previously existed, see that's the funny part, then we shouldn't exist either. It should all cancel out and there should be nothing but light. That's what the theory says, right? And then we say, well, but we do exist and it's a mystery. Alright, maybe if we take a step back for a moment and we say, okay, well, some kind of explosion happened. We have the cosmic radiation, and we can be pretty sure about that. But if we don't make the assumption that it must have been the beginning of something, maybe the right reading of the theory, and I'm being very unorthodox here, but maybe it's actually that it couldn't be the sole source of matter around us, and that there must have been some other source of matter. If what your math says is that we shouldn't exist if there was no other matter, then doesn't that mean that there must have been other matter? Maybe the answer isn't in tweaking variables, on the inside of the Big Bang. Maybe it's in realizing that there's no real reason that we ought to think that this explosion that happened was the beginning of anything. But what we've done is we've boxed ourselves into a corner with this, right? We started with the assumption that there's a beginning. And that we saw it, right? We're trying to find when was the beginning. But that's a religious assumption. It's not a scientific deduction. It's an empirical question, right? Instead of looking for a beginning, we should realize that the question of whether there was a beginning or not is an empirical question in the first place. So we're searching for something we've already decided must exist. We're not really measuring evidence and trying to determine if there actually was a beginning or not. And again, I think if you really look at what we know carefully and discard all of these extraneous assumptions, what the evidence proves is that the Big Bang was not the beginning of anything, and that we must be in an open universe. Sorry, that's a typo there. Not a big band. I like jazz, but that's not what we're talking about here. Okay, so this is important context because it opens up the possibility that these galaxies are being dragged by something outside of the observable universe. And that was already there before the Big Bang happened. Now, we don't need dark matter, right? We don't need to keep looking for this thing that doesn't exist. We can just acknowledge that there's things outside of the observable universe. That's a revolutionary suggestion. But listen, the dark matter's not there. It's just the recycled ether hypothesis anyways. Einstein got rid of the ether, then it snuck back in as dark matter. Okay? It's a way to save the ether. The ether doesn't need saving. The ether doesn't deserve saving. It's a bad idea. Whether my idea is right or wrong, the ether isn't there, and it's time we came to terms with it. This whole when was the beginning thing, you're pushing the question off, right? It's the whole, what created God? Well, I don't know. What created the Big Bang, right? Well, maybe that M theory thing, where you've got these slabs of energy smashing into each other, and there is an existence outside of it. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe it's gravity, maybe it's something more exotic. Maybe it's some analog of gravity outside of the universe. But maybe it's less that the universe is expanding, and more that something's pulling it apart. Or maybe it's expanding and being pulled apart, right? If you can't find something, then maybe it's not there. And I think that what I'm saying is something that this is an empirical question. This needs to be proven or disproven. I have no evidence. I have no compelling argument. I'm just saying that maybe that's how it is. Or maybe not. Who knows? And I just want to clarify that when I say open universe, what I mean is that events outside of the universe can affect events within it, and not something about the shape of the universe. That was sloppy on my behalf. I mean, open in terms of not closed, regarding in terms of causality, right? Um, we, you can look this up. I think I've made myself clear. Let's get a link here. This is where the language comes from. It will be in the description there. My battery's going on me, so. It's where the language comes from, but it's not at all what I meant to say. I don't mean to say that there's some supernatural entity that's pulling strings. I just mean to say that I think there's something else physically out there, and that it may not obey the physics that we understand. So, it's just, like I say, causally closed would mean that everything that happens in the universe is explained within the universe, and then an open universe would mean that there are things that are outside of the universe that affect what happens inside the universe. Not necessarily a god, maybe just other physical stuff.